Welcome to the Data Democracy, presented by renowned O'Reilly author Ole Olesen-Bagneux, empowered by Xenia. Make your data accessible and discoverable by anyone, anywhere, at any time.
Hello everybody, you're listening to the Data Democracy podcast and I'm your host, Ole Olesen-Bagneux, Chief Evangelist in Xenia and author of the Enterprise Data Catalog published by O'Reilly. In this podcast we explore what a data democracy is, and today's guest is Hala Nelson. Hala Nelson is an associate professor of mathematics at James Madison University and the author of Essential Math for AI, also published by O'Reilly. I came across Hala on LinkedIn and I was really intrigued by her many posts about mathematics not being important, and I thought that was quite a paradox for a professor of mathematics. So I wanted to learn more about that. And I read her book, Essential Math for AI, that I deeply recommend. And I will also just give you some of the takeaways from the conversation I had with Hala right here up front. So if you're a data leader, you should really be aware of the responsibility you have if you're using AI. You should be as transparent as you possibly can, both in your usage and in the results that you're getting of the usage of AI. Also, second, you need to not let your skepticism win. Of course, we can always be skeptical about AI, but that should not stop you in using it. The more we use AI with good purposes, the better it becomes and the better the usage becomes for society also. And finally, if you're a data leader, push people to use AI. They can either study it academically, they can improve the technologies that AI consists of, or they can simply use these technologies for meaningful purposes and really push that as a data leader. Okay, for data democracy in itself, my takeaways from Hala's conversation with me is that AI must not be in the hands of the few. It is too strong and everyone should benefit from it. Also, the outcomes of AI must be shared in a simple, understandable way so that everyone can really understand what this technology or these technologies is doing to society. And then afterwards you can explain the mathematics of it if you want to. And third and most important for me and the mission that I am on, data must be discoverable and of good quality if AI is to work. It is so often neglected and it cannot be repeated enough. Okay, these were my takeaways. Stay tuned. Here is my conversation with Hala Nelson. Hi, Hala.
Hi, Ole. How are you?
I'm fine. And you?
I'm good.
Very good. I'm happy to have you on. Hala, for the listeners, I was wondering, can you tell us a little bit about your work experience, what you do, and who you are?
Yeah, so I am a math professor. I am at James Madison University in Virginia in the United States. And before that, I was, I'm from Lebanon, so I did math in Lebanon, undergrad, master's, and then I moved to New York City to NYU, New York University, to have my PhD in applied math, partial differential equations, mathematical modeling, and then I did a postdoc at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. I did imaging, inverse problems, things like that, and then I moved to Virginia.
Oh yeah, okay. So you have been in academia like all your work life?
All my life, yeah.
Yeah.
I specialize now in AI, but I see it same as mathematical modeling. I don't see a difference between what I did before, what I did now in terms of the way I think about it. The only difference is AI combines a lot of my interests together in terms of human behavior and real life problems and stuff. So in that sense, I like it way better than what I did before.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That shines through your book also that I've been reading, and we'll get back to the book. But prior to that, if you don't mind sharing. Reading your book, I sensed that there were a lot of interesting conversations going on in your upbringing. Can you share some of those conversations? What were they about, and how did they impact you intellectually?
Yeah. So I'm from Lebanon, and Lebanon has always been a country with a lot of conflict. It's a small country, beautiful country, great people, very diverse in terms of their cultural upbringings. We have different religions, we have different backgrounds, but we have a very strong Lebanese identity. So growing up in war, I literally grew up in war my whole life. I was born in civil war, and I grew up in it, and we were affected by it in many ways in my family. So in my family, my dad is a math teacher, and my mom is an English and philosophy teacher. My uncle is a philosophy teacher. My other uncle is a head of a school. So we kind of like, I had that, how would I say, privilege of, when it's war, children sit at home more than they go to school. So my parents made sure they talk to us about everything and teach us stuff. So, and then you kind of watch how people behave, and like we grow up with, when people are in conflict, and they justify the way this party justifies why it's doing what it's doing, and they're so right in it, and the other party is using the exact same logic to justify the exact other action. So it kind of makes you kind of, as a child, you're watching it. It's not like hard on a child. It's more like fascinating. You're like watching it and you're observing. So there was a lot of philosophy. The way people think, the way they rationalize, how they think their existence. Also, religions, different religions, and how they see the same reality, and how they arrive at their laws, or whether their way of thinking is a complete logic or is there gaps. So it's kind of all related, and then you see it also in terms of mathematics. Like, for example, when people are when there's, like, say, jet fighters kind of bombing, like they go for the bridges, and mathematically they're like, you have a network and you want to like target the bridges that provide the most connectivity. So it makes you think of graphs and networks, and where's the most vulnerable points in your country to be targeted. And a lot of it also, like, if these people arm, then would these people arm more? Would they have a different ally to bring more weapons? So that's game theory. And somehow it's all like related in that sense. So it's really shaped a lot of the way I think about both math and logic and philosophy, behavior. So I hope that answers your question.
More than answer it. I mean, that is such an extraordinary background to have, and I say this very humbly. I mean, I think you have both experienced quite dramatic, horrific events growing up, obviously, and at the same time you have had this enormous privilege, right, of being able to have conversations with people that could not only prepare you for adulthood, but also prepare you for, like, really intellectually refined adulthood. That is a gift in the enormous and horrible atrocities that you have, of course, witnessed that as a child, and no child obviously should witness that. So I guess that must have been the force that kept you going during your educational years, and also that must have been the force, I guess, pushing you towards a career in academia, which is and I do not want to make a joke about this, but which can also be not a war zone, but also a little dangerous, right?
Oh, definitely, definitely. It actually puts a lot in perspective, that kind of particular background. It makes you think that whatever problem you're trying to solve now, in a way you've seen worse, and it makes it easier. Yeah, puts a lot in perspective. It puts a lot of the finance system in perspective, how people run their organization. It puts it in perspective because you've seen it in your country at the country level. You've seen it collapse and then try to build itself again, and sometimes it's wrong, sometimes try. You've seen people kind of their order kind of change, and it settles into a new equilibrium. So yes, it definitely puts a lot in different kind of perspective and makes it less challenging. It makes like my life now less challenging. It was a driver. I wanted, freedom freedom of thought, freedom of constant chaos, but at the same time, I'm very attached to my country because they have like, we have strong identity. You can never really like replicate, and I'm sure that's how it is for everybody.
Yeah, but I mean, I also have like I'm also of partly of Mediterranean descent, and I see that like the strong identity and the rationality of thought, like the deep thinking. I recognize that a little bit in the way you write and think. And so, okay, I want to dive into your book, your wonderful book. I have it right here, actually. Essential Math for AI. I think it is. It's such an amazing book, and I want, of course, you to explain it. But since you described your upbringing, let me just say that when I went to high school, I had the most boring math book. I could not focus on it. It was just a list of like equations and stuff, laws, theorems you had to learn, and that was it. There were no like contextualization. There was nothing that made this intriguing in any way, and I was not thrilled. I have to say, I was 17 years old. There's a lot of things going on when you're 17 years old. I grew up peacefully, contrary to you, and I enjoyed that freedom. So that book was not appealing to me. And of course, it's easy to sit here many years after and say, had I just had Hala's book. But anyway, had I just had Hala's book. This is a wonderful book that really wants you to learn mathematics, right? And that's the cool thing about it. But I have my own ideas about the structure, but I wouldn't want to explain your book to you. So Hala, in your words, how did you come up with the structure of the book?
Yes, it was a lot of what you're saying. Of course, I've been a math professor. I've taught math in my life for 20 years, and I've had thousands of people I've taught and thousands of brains to have to reach them. And I realize that people are different in the way they learn, and you have to. And I realized that I needed to tell them why. Knowing why you're solving a problem makes you want to solve it more, makes you actually look in the right direction. So the part of it was part of my teaching. The other part is I believe, like I didn't want to plunge people like you're describing into do this much math formulas and then you'll be good. Actually, it's not the case. You will not be good. You would just know how to do these formulas and nothing else. And in the big context of things, that is not a useful skill. I want to use to teach people how to think about these things, then they can go and solve any problem that faces them, whether in their organization, in their modeling of data, in whatever it is that they're trying to solve. This way of thinking that I wanted to put in my book, I'm hoping will help them. The other thing is I noticed that in terms of math for AI in particular, people would say you just need to know probability and linear algebra and optimization, and then you're good. And then how many probability books are there? How many probability theories? You're like, wait a minute. I mean, do I really need? I mean, that's overwhelming, and you cannot. So I needed to structure it in a way that immediately made people understand what AI is and what its impact is, and do that through math, and then the math that you need will just be there. The last thing is, in terms of structure, is I believe in terms of information, in terms of how we acquire information, I feel like, and knowledge in particular, I think the flow of information, the way it's routed is as important or even more important as the information itself. Meaning you don't need to know the details of one thing, but if you know where it fits in the flow in the map, then that's basically all you need. So I don't have to take you to a certain destination myself, but if I give you a map and a whole story of how it should flow, then it will get you there. I don't have to be there with you. And once you get to your destination, you find out new stuff, you need more details, then at least you know where you are in the big picture of things. So that's how I structured it. I started with data, and not everything, basically just immediately data as it relates to math, and then the machine learning, but without, even the way I presented machine learning, I presented it in a very simple structure, like with hundreds of models, including neural networks, the modern, the past, they're all like doing exactly one thing mathematically. So if you understand that very simple structure, then you're able to unlock hundreds of models that differ in the details only. So it's kind of that way of thinking. And in terms of, I also placed mathematical logic at the very end, even though if you think of the AI history, it started logically. So I wanted it at the end in the sense that yes, the logical agents are important, but they're like, in a way, they're not. It's not like they are the past and neural networks are the present. No, everything can be made smarter if you think of it as a whole of intelligence, and you blend in like a neural network model with a logical model, an agent endowed like that will be a smarter agent, like just like humans are, right? We're neural network based, but we also are able to put a logic on top of that model. So it's kind of, I framed it in that sense, and it seems like it's resonating with people, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, you should be grateful, but you should also just be proud. I mean, the book is really, it's a good read, and exactly like you say, you explain, as I see it, the societal changes that AI is doing, performing through math, as you say. And so instead of having a long list of mathematical laws and what have you, you explain a lot of stuff that is going on in society, and you explain that through math, and it's such an elegant move, Hala.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into some basics. How come you don't define AI in the book?
Yeah, well, if you ask, well, I've thought about intelligence all my life, and I've seen a lot of students. I see people, and as I said, how they behave in their societies. Intelligence itself, it manifests itself in different ways. It has aspects. There are aspects of intelligence, and it doesn't. For example, the fact that we can see and we can hear and we can communicate and we can navigate and we can have a memory where we store our data, and we have a physical body that can help us source materials and manipulate. So for me, not one of these things is intelligence. They are all aspects, and so and the other thing is, I talk to say government officials or whoever the people I work with for projects and stuff, and then I see them kind of, sometimes I hear things that I disagree with. For example, they say, well, people are saying computer vision is intelligence, and they're saying a computer vision is AI. That's not AI. And in my mind, well, what is AI? I would ask them, like vision is makes us increases our intelligence. It's an aspect. So instead of thinking of defining intelligence and going into the work of philosophers and disagreements on the nature of intelligence, the nature of existence, the nature of reality, I mean, these questions are always going to be there. And we can answer them like locally, but I can definitely, even though I cannot define intelligence, I can define aspects of intelligence. And in that sense, when you see like vision, language, etc., navigation, awareness, etc., if you can model that mathematically and replicate it in a machine, of course, you model it and then you replicate it you make the machine kind of convey that aspect of intelligence, then you're getting to somewhere, and that will be artificial intelligence. So this is why I don't define. If I wanted to define AI, then I had to define intelligence, and I didn't want to do that, but I wanted to define the aspects of intelligence. And in a combination of these aspects, any combination is a direction in terms of AI. And I see it in my students. People are different. Are they not intelligent? No, they just think differently. You know, even like people with, I've seen the most amazing forms of intelligence with people who are autistic, who had completely different way of seeing the world or communicating with the world, but are they not intelligent? I've seen brilliance, you know, so you cannot, so that's my whole, so I started with that premise and then started mapping it mathematically and seeing if we can model that, then we're talking about intelligence and mathematically and modeling and yeah.
But I think that's a very good and pragmatic choice that you made for your book, saying this is not, I mean, you can definitely sense the philosophical conversations here in your upbringing and like going on in your mind still. But I think you made a wise choice not defining artificial intelligence. But you could write an entire book about that, and I'm sure you wouldn't have the answer anyway. Yes. So instead, you define what is called an AI agent, right?
Yes.
And so, what's an AI agent? What's that?
So an agent, it could be a software, a machine, a something that some entity that can accomplish a task that maps to that aspect of intelligence, to one or more aspects. So it could be software. For example, ChatGPT is an AI agent, is a language AI agent, is a conversationalist AI agent. A robotic hand at a car line that's doing exactly the same thing again and again, that is an agent that's doing something else, but also doing a mechanical thing. A little self-navigating, we have on campus now these little robots that deliver things, and they're so cute. They're completely but they're like, they do vision, they're operated by vision, navigation, you know, all the sensors all around. So that's an AI agent. So an AI agent is a software or hardware or machine that manifests a task that's associated with these aspects of intelligence that I defined before defining an agent.
Yeah. I have so many questions. I want to get to them all, or at least the maximum of them. You mention several places in your book the power that AI really gives to those that understand, really truly understand mathematics and like everything computational needed to perform AI, right? So you have pretty strong opinions about democratizing AI, and I read the examples. I know why, but for the listeners, can you elaborate on why do we need to democratize AI?
Well, as you said in the beginning, it's a very powerful tool. It's for people who have done math all their life and modeling, and they've been trying to solve all kinds of problems. The amazing power that AI can give to address very important problems in terms of creating medicine, in terms of supply chain, in terms of weather, in terms of climate. AI unlocks outstanding problems that have been standing in these fields that need a lot of computation and new insight or new way to model the function. Like, you don't have to come up with the function yourself now. You can approximate it with a network, and then you can so without diving into details, it's a powerful thing in society. It's like creating a new weapon, and these things always, like creating something very powerful and that has the ability to affect billions of people, and it already is affecting billions of people. Like, just how much our phone, the information we get on our phone is like, it's the companies that have the ability to control what we're seeing and all of that. These kinds of structures, they always need checks and balances, and democratizing that will give checks and balances, and otherwise these big powers will be concentrated in the hands of the few who are producing this, and and then it becomes opaque. And it's the same reason why data needs to be democratized, in my opinion. And actually, democratizing data has to happen. I mean, AI is built on data, so democratizing that will lead to democratizing that as well. It's definitely checks and balances, definitely. Even if the companies that are producing these technologies are really good in their intentions, you're only seeing it at some point. If it's only you doing it, you become disconnected from the reality of billions of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I can go in there for hours, honestly. Any of these questions are really hours and hours, 5 minutes. But it's the same as data, in my opinion.
Yeah, you have these examples in your book. I want to highlight, I want to mention one and highlight another one. So the one you mention is that you're searching for data and you're looking all over for data. I think it's for the bus transportation example, and you realize when you have done all your calculations, all the math, that the data was so wrong that it's just nonsense. So that really illustrates the importance of both being able to find the right data, being able to trust it, and so forth. Right, everything, all the classical data management stuff. But you also have this other example about the fire department, where we have done some analysis for a fire department, and then as you present the numbers, you realize something. It's an enormous book. It's 500 pages. Can you remember this example from your book?
Let me see if I remember. You're talking about the fact that I told them the answer, and I realized that I could have said any answer.
Exactly.
And that was scary. To me, it was scary, and in my opinion, I'm good and I'm honest in my reporting, but how many people are not? I mean, these models always spit answers, right? And you can tell the managers or the leaders of these organizations, well, this is AI, this is what it's telling me. And then for me, my realization that I could have said anything, and then the big decisions would have been based on what I would have said. So that's an amount of power that we have to be very careful with, and there has to be, just like the freedom is protected, it has to be protected in.
Exactly. I have two more questions, and we have a couple of minutes, so I can make it. I wanted to also hear you out on the confusion matrix you have at around page 100 in the book. But Hala, it will be for another time. It's just I'm very much into everything search engine mathematics, obviously, but we'll have to do that another time. I think you could explain it better than I do myself. But no, I have a couple of questions left. First of all, for the young listeners out there, if you want to start a career in AI, you have a couple of advice, and you provide some advice by the end of your book. Well, can you share it with us here?
Yes. I would say it depends what you want to do. Do you want to use these technologies to solve problems that people are facing? Are you interested in supply chain, climate, military? It's funny, I'm saying the thing that I'm interested in, but whatever it is, yeah, or running an organization or organizing. That's how to organize data of an organization. That's different. I love that topic, and I feel very strongly about that in terms of it being similar to libraries and all of that. But my point is choose before you don't say, "Oh, I want to go into AI." Because AI is huge and you can go in many directions. So exactly what do you want to do? Do you want to sit down, develop the models yourself, or do you want to develop the hardware? Then basically you grab these books like that talk about that topic, or talk to the people, or go join the community that talks about the topic. See what they're doing. Like, don't join them and then think that they are the absolute authority on the subject, but kind of like start getting follow your heart and what you want to do, and then start getting in that community, start learning, and learn from people who do not like make absolute truth statements, or this is gonna die, this is the end of this, or this is like these strong emotions. Like, just see how people are thinking about it in that field that you're interested in. But in terms of AI itself, in terms of modeling, or where it's headed, there's many directions, but start with the people who are in the community, and start talking to people, talking to teachers. I cannot stress that enough. I learned a lot from a lot of good people, and then yeah.
Wonderful advice, Hala. And the very final question I have, and I guess you could talk a lot about it, but how do you see the future of AI?
I see it as really good. As I said, the amount of solutions it unlocks, like even in terms of material design, in terms of medicine, and it unlocks things that we never thought was possible to see it in our time. So I see, in that sense, I see that as very good. I also see more interest in developing the quantum computing side, and the superconductors, like kind of enhancing and advancing even more. Like, this is really us going to the limit in math, the limit of something that's us as human makers are approaching the limit of that. It's like the smallest and the most, the fastest and the smallest. So in that direction, I'm very excited. I'm also slightly worried about the democratization issue, and I'm not sure that's attainable unless there's a whole culture, like you, me, like people who really think about it that way. They need to be like educating, and also governments have to get involved, because the big giants of AI, as much as I love their genius and all of that, I think unless governments get involved, that it wouldn't get regulated. And also, one thing I worry about is the automatic weapons. The thing about automation is you cannot assign responsibility is to where this is coming from, or accountability. So in that sense, we have to be careful and regulate. But in terms of the potential and how much it can solve and where it's going in terms of hardware, software, data organization, to me, like, that's another topic we did go in here. The fact that data needs to be organized and searchable, and all of that. If all of this really happens because people are thinking about it now, they're trying to do a culture shift. If that culture shift happens, it's going to be really good. I'm optimistic about that.
I'm happy to hear that, Hala, and I think I know you're writing on a second book. I've been seeing some posts about that. I'm sure you won't reveal what the content is, but I think it would be an obvious topic for you to write about how to effectively democratize AI. So if it's not the topic of your next book, then make it the topic of your third. I think you should do that. Anyway, Hala, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for joining the show.
Same.